Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. This is one of my favorite cars, and it's really worth pointing out some of the special features on what makes the 2019 Porsche 991 Speedster so spectacular. And I'm not just talking about Porsche people. The thing that's really cool about this car that I think separates it from so many other Porsches is that you've actually got a GT3 drivetrain in a Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet chassis. And what makes this car really remarkable to drive is that for the first time in history, Porsche has taken a GT3 power plant and they've put it in a Speedster body, essentially giving you a GT3 convertible. So the really cool thing about these cars is you have to look at these things for the experience of driving them, because if you try to just look at facts and figures and geek out over 0 to 60 in quarter-mile times, there's really not that much here that's going to impress the exotic car crowd. I mean, certainly the car's got 502 horsepower, 346 pound-feet of torque. It's not slow, but the car's not fast. Everything about this car is set up for driver enjoyment. And so you've got this GT3 4-liter powertrain going, and then you drop the top and you've got this absolute amazing engine note, and it's reverberating all around you with the top off. And even as a GT3 owner, I appreciate that sound like crazy, but you just don't get the same experience in the GT3 that you do in the Speedster, being able to lower that top. This engine layout is actually from the 992 GT3. So you've got the latest and greatest in terms of powertrain in this car, but you've got the beauty of a second gen 991. And I say that because with the 992, I find that, especially in a winged GT3, I think the 992 is a really aggressive, really cool looking car. But I think as far as the touring package goes, I think the second gen 991 is a more pretty car. So with this particular car, you've got the Speedster with the best of both worlds. You've got the looks of a second gen 991, especially in the front end. It's absolutely elegant. It's super classy without the huge hood vents that you see in a 992 that, again, they make the car look a lot more aggressive, but not necessarily more beautiful. So just talking about the Speedster in general, we've already kind of talked about the convertible top and that coming off and being able to hear the engine. But in terms of this particular build, this car is number 806 of only 1,948 cars produced. So these cars were not overly produced. It had an original MSRP of $302,000, but what's amazing about that, unless you were part of the lucky few, like one of the original 918 Spider owners on that Porsche VIP crowd, you're probably not going to buy this car for $302,000. These were trading upwards of $100,000 over MSRP when they came out. Any looks through Auto Trader, eBay, anything like that, you start to see these cars are back up over $400,000 in most cases if they've got really low miles. I think what really adds to the beauty of this, you hear about paint to sample a lot. It's become very, very popular with Porsche. I mean, I don't know what the actual statistics are on paint to sample cars, but it seems like half the cars ordered now are paint to sample. And that's really cool, but I think with the Speedster, you don't even need paint to sample because these cars speak for themselves. They are so beautiful, especially this. I mean, Porsche has always been a favorite in silver. This car is finished in GT Silver Metallic. It's got about $12,000 in upgraded leather stitching versus what a standard Speedster would have been. So you've got this full black interior, and then you've got all these extra areas of deviated red stitching, and it just really, really pulls the interior together nicely. Then you look at the wheels, and you've got this really elegant red pinstripe around a satin black wheel with a yellow PCCB caliper popping out behind it. It is just an incredible, incredible package. What's really cool about this car on top of that is our client who purchased this car originally from us had Patrick Motorsports in Phoenix here custom make a houndstooth interior, but instead of just going with the standard black and white checkerboard, It actually has little hints of red in there as well that just ties in all the accents together perfectly, from the wheels, the dash, and everything. One of the questions I'm asked a lot is, especially with exotic cars, your typical Lamborghini, Ferrari buyer, they want to know how much attention a car gets. That's important to people when they spend several $100,000. They don't just want to be seen in something that everybody else has. This car isn't really like that. And that's one of the things I think that's the most spectacular. This car gets all the right attention. It's not in your face. It's very, very subtle. If you don't know what the car is, it just looks like another standard 911 driving down the highway. You don't think anything about it. I've even had guys who have come in here, multiple exotic car owners, and they see this car. They have no idea what it is. They just think it's another 911. They move on unless they walk around the back, and then they see Speedster. They see that roof line as it trails off in the back. Now it's starting to look a little bit more special. But to the Porsche faithful, Porsche nerds like me, we flip out when we see something like this, because you know what's under the bonnet, you know what kind of power you've got, you know what kind of sound you've got, and you know that you are never going to see yourself twice driving around in this car unless you're up at Monterey Car Week. That's about the only place you're going to see several of these at one location. So, with that being said, I think it makes the most sense to get out, go for a drive. That's what we all want to hear. That's what you want to see. So let's go take it for a spin. Now that we're back from a drive, hopefully you guys had a chance to hear just how cool that engine note is. And we thank you for coming along on this tour of the 991 Porsche Speedster. Until next time, we'll see you soon.